It is like Desmond Eliot, the Honorable from Surulere in Lagos State House of Assembly, is swimming in a shallow water. This news is coming to you from Towards Nation Building, TNB. Let's hear this documentary compiled by a station to know what is happening to Desmond Eliot. We are bringing you his own conversation and that of the CSO, that is Chief of Staff, Gbajabiamila. Let's watch on, pass your comment, share with others, and like the video. God bless you as you watch on. We are wishing both parties good luck.
Imagine spending over a decade in power. Cameras everywhere you go, your name on billboards, people calling you honorable. You walk into rooms and people stand up. Now imagine all of that gone. And the only way to save it is to go kneel before the same people you never gave the time of day when you were riding high. That is exactly where Desmond Eliot is right now. The Nollywood actor turned politician, who has represented Surulere Constituency 1 in the Lagos State House of Assembly for 3 consecutive terms, is fighting for his political life. And sources close to the situation say it is not going well. Because the man he needs most, Femi Gbajabiamila, Chief of Staff to the President of Nigeria, is reportedly not picking up the phone. And the people being asked to help broker peace are the same people Desmond Eliot walked past without blinking when everything was going smoothly. Stay with me, because this story goes much deeper than a 4th-term declaration. This is about pride, access, loyalty, and what happens when a politician mistakes fame for relevance. Let us start with what happened on the surface, because the surface alone already tells you something is wrong. When a politician is truly in good standing, when his party backs him, when his constituents love him, when his political godfather is solidly behind him, his declaration for another term is a celebration. There are crowds, there is noise, there is electricity in the room. Desmond Eliot's 4th-term declaration felt nothing like that. Yes, he showed up in Surulere, yes, he gave a speech, but almost immediately, the narrative was not about his vision or his record, it was about damage control. Within the same breath as announcing his intention to return to the Lagos House of Assembly representing Surulere Constituency 1, he was already denying rumors, already explaining himself, already apologizing. He told his constituency that reports of a feud with Femi Gbajabiamila were false, that he remained loyal to his political leader, that if he had offended anyone, he was sorry and wanted them to move forward together. When a politician opens a declaration speech by apologizing to his own political leader, that is not confidence. That is not the energy of a man whose 4th term is secure. That is the body language of someone who knows the ground beneath him is shaking and is desperately trying to stabilize it before the cameras catch him falling. The question is, what exactly happened? Why is Desmond Eliot apologizing publicly to Femi Gbajabiamila, and why is Gbajabiamila not standing next to him at that event? We are going to answer all of that. But first, let us talk about who Desmond Eliot was when things were going well. Because you cannot understand where he is now without understanding how he got here. Desmond Eliot did not come into politics as a grassroots organizer. He did not build his profile going from street to street in Surulere, attending community meetings, listening to landlord association complaints, or tracking down PHCN officials. He came in as a celebrity, a Nollywood face, a name. And in Lagos politics, particularly in a cosmopolitan constituency like Surulere, that name recognition opened doors that years of community organizing could not. He won. Then he won again. Then he won a 3rd time. And somewhere in those 3 terms, somewhere between the committee assignments, the legislative sessions, the Lagos APC hierarchy politics, and the comfort of incumbency, sources say Desmond Eliot began to operate like a man who had forgotten that political power is borrowed, not owned. People who have interacted with him in Surulere describe a lawmaker who became increasingly difficult to reach. Constituents with genuine problems, people who voted for him, people who campaigned for him, reportedly found it harder and harder to get his ear. Phone calls went unanswered, requests for meetings were deflected to aides who rarely followed through. Accessibility, which is perhaps the single most important quality voters in Nigerian constituencies demand from their representatives, reportedly became a luxury in Desmond Eliot's office. And in a place like Surulere, that kind of disconnect doesn't go unnoticed. It gets talked about at motor parks, at markets, at church, at community meetings. But here's the thing about incumbency in Lagos APC. As long as the party structure is with you, as long as the right godfather is backing you, constituency complaints rarely translate into political consequences. You can survive. The problem started when the complaints stopped being just from ordinary constituents and started coming from the people who actually control political outcomes in Lagos. Let us talk about Femi Gbajabiamila, because this is where everything else in this story hinges on. Gbajabiamila is not just any political figure in Lagos. He is currently Chief of Staff to President Bola Tinubu, one of the most powerful positions in the Nigerian federal government. In Lagos APC politics, his endorsement or his cold shoulder can determine outcomes in ways that money alone cannot fix. Sources familiar with the internal Lagos APC dynamics say that Femi Gbajabiamila is not just mildly uncomfortable with Desmond Eliot's fourth-term bid. He is reportedly genuinely angry. And the reasons go beyond policy disagreements or strategic differences. This is about personal conduct, about how Desmond Eliot carried himself during a period when he apparently felt untouchable, about loyalty or the lack of it, about the kind of quiet disrespect that powerful men in Nigerian politics never forget, even when they say nothing publicly. The details of what specifically triggered the rupture are still being pieced together from multiple sources, and we will continue reporting on this. But what is not in dispute is the outcome. When Desmond Eliot needed Femi Gbajabiamila's backing for this fourth term, the response he got was not warm, it was not encouraging. It was the loudest kind of silence, the kind that speaks volumes precisely because nothing is being said. And so, Desmond Eliot did what Lagos politicians do when they need to navigate around a powerful obstacle. He started making calls, he started visiting, he started asking mutual contacts, party members, stakeholders, fellow Lagos legislators to intervene, to speak on his behalf, to help him get back into Gbajabiamila's good graces. In other words, Desmond Eliot began begging, quietly, desperately, behind closed doors. Now here is where this story takes a turn that is almost poetic in how painful it must be for a proud man to live through. The people Desmond Eliot is now approaching, cap in hand, humble voice, asking them to please put in a word for him with Gbajabiamila and other key Lagos APC stakeholders, are the very same people he reportedly treated as invisible when his position felt secure. Party members who reached out to him for basic access and were brushed off. Community leaders who tried to engage him on constituency matters and got protocol speak and empty promises. Political allies who expected a relationship of mutual respect and instead felt like they were beneath his attention. These are not anonymous strangers. These are men and women who know exactly who Desmond Eliot is, how he behaved, and what he thought of them when he did not need them. And now he needs them, desperately. Sources say the conversations have been awkward at best and humiliating at worst. Some of these stakeholders are playing along, listening politely, nodding appropriately, while doing absolutely nothing to follow through. Others are being more direct, expressing frustration privately that a man who never had time for them now expects them to risk their own political capital on his behalf. This is one of the oldest and harshest lessons in Nigerian politics and in life. The people you ignore on your way up are the same people you meet on your way down. Desmond Eliot is living that lesson in real time. Every visit he makes, every call he places, every message he sends to someone who once needed him and was turned away is a reminder of decisions he cannot undo. The pride that reportedly defined his years in office is now the heaviest burden he carries into every room where he needs help. Let us go back to that declaration speech. Because the public apology Desmond Eliot delivered, the one where he said he was sorry if he had offended his political leader and that he wanted them to move forward together, deserves to be examined very carefully. On the surface, it sounds humble, conciliatory, mature even. But political observers in Lagos who understand how this game is played are reading it very differently. A genuine reconciliation, a real, substantial peace between Femi Gbajabiamila and Desmond Eliot would not be announced by Eliot alone in a constituency speech. It would be visible, it would be mutual. Femi Gbajabiamila would have been at that event, or would have released a statement, or would have sent a visible representative with a clear message of support. None of that happened. What happened instead is that Desmond Eliot stood before cameras, apologized publicly to a man who was not in the room, and hoped that the performance of reconciliation would be convincing enough to make people believe the reconciliation was real. It was, as many observers are calling it privately, a media move, an image management exercise, a way of creating the impression for voters, for party members, for the general public that all is well, when the private reality is far more complicated and far less resolved. The Surulere Accountability Forum, the coalition that rejected his fourth-term bid and criticized his three-term record, was not impressed. They called the entire exercise political propaganda. And from where they are sitting, watching a man who ignored them for years suddenly become humble and accessible only because his political survival depends on it, it is difficult to argue with that assessment. Beneath the political checks, there is a constituency, real people, real problems, and a three-term record that is now being publicly debated. The Surulere Accountability Forum's rejection of Eliot's fourth-term bid is not just political noise. It reflects a genuine ground-level frustration with a lawmaker many feel has been more interested in his own comfort and positioning than in delivering for the people who sent him to the Lagos House of Assembly 3 times. Accessibility remains the loudest complaint. Constituents who needed their representative and could not reach him. People with problems, real, urgent, community-level problems, who found the doors to his office more open than closed. Yes, Desmond Eliot spoke about projects, roads, sanitation, education, healthcare. He even made the remarkable claim that he personally spent 75 million naira to help repair a constituent's spine, a figure that raised more eyebrows than it earned applause in many quarters. People in Surulere are asking practical questions. Where are the roads? What improved? What changed in 3 times that justifies a fourth? Eliot's defense is that experience matters, that longer-serving legislators attract more development, hold better committee positions, and deliver more constituency benefits. It's an argument that sounds reasonable in theory, but in Surulere, where people measure legislators not by arguments but by outcomes, the jury is still very much out, and the verdict, based on current mood, does not look favorable. He has declared for a 4th term. He has apologized publicly to a political leader who has not publicly forgiven him. He's going around privately begging stakeholders who have long memories of being ignored. He's facing a constituency that is more organized in his opposition than at any point in his political career. And the most powerful Lagos APC figure he needs on his side is maintaining a silence that is deafening. Can he survive this? Nigerian politics has seen bigger comebacks. Money moves, structures shift. Godfathers sometimes relent when the price is right or when the alternative is worse. But one thing is already settled. The Desmond Eliot that walks into this 4th-term battle is not the untouchable celebrity-turned-lawmaker who believed his incumbency made him invincible. He is a man who learned, too late and too publicly, that in politics, how you treat people on your way up writes the script for everything that happens on your way down. The question now is, will anyone in Surulere or in the Lagos APC structure rewrite that script for him? Drop your take in the comments. Do you think Desmond Eliot survives this? Can he patch things up with Gbajabiamila? Or is his 4th term already dead before it truly begins? Like this video if it gave you something to think about. Share it. Subscribe if you haven't. We'll be watching this story very closely, and when the next chapter breaks, you'll hear it here first. Until next time, stay sharp. See you in the next one.